Hey everyone, welcome back to Average Joe Preparedness. My name's Rick, and I'm an Average Joe. I know it's been a bit since my last video, and that is like always because I'm busy. I'm busy living life, I'm busy doing my stuff, and you should be too. If you're new here, this is a preparedness channel for average people. Just like average, I don't know what you want to call them, but that's it. And that's me. I'm just an average guy trying to get by. And so that's what this is for. It's not for like doomsday preppers. It's not end of the world, whatever. It's just kind of normal stuff that for people that are like, hey, things are going on and I probably need to be ready. I need to do something, which is a good thing once you make up your mind and say, hey, I need to start doing something. A little bit, a lot, doesn't matter. As long as you're doing something, that's a good thing. And by doing something, realizing, okay, something is wrong, or something could be going wrong, and I need to take care of myself. Okay, what I've been doing. So since my last video, I've taken 2 road trips. And the first one was and there's lessons learned, so that's what I'm going to go over with you, not the fact that I took road trips, but things that can be learned. And so one of them was to a wedding. Went to a wedding. And Info U, we went to what some people would consider a flyover state, more conservative, and the wedding was held way rural, way out there, up in the mountains, small little town, kind of a place where campers and hikers and motorcycle groups go through, and basically it was way out of the way. Very conservative people, not liberal people. Not that I take sides, because everybody makes their own mistakes. But Info U, flyover state, conservative, very, very rural, very small, little teeny towns way out there. Lessons learned. You ready? For those people that are like, oh yeah, if something happens, and I'm talking about not just like a normal little thing, I say it, but something that everybody knows about, like tornadoes or storms or ice storms or earthquakes, or now there's a hurricane going. We might go over that here in a little bit. But like end of the world stuff, I'm going to go to the mountains and the little towns up there. And okay, I have no issue with it. Here's the problem. If you're not from there, you're not going to be welcome. And getting supplies up there are extremely difficult. There's not a lot of supplies up there. The stores are very small. And everything is very expensive. Okay? One of the reasons why people live on the edges is because there's ports and stuff, and that you'll find the major airports and major where people are, and that's where stuff comes in, because we don't make enough stuff here in America. But the point being is major train stations or major ports for ships coming in, or all those things are on the edges. They're not in the middle. To get supplies there, it's very difficult. Can you see that? So, yes, I went up there. It was really nice. It'd be a great place for those people that are like, yeah, I'm going to have a place where I can go. And I'm not saying it's not. I mean, it was good. There's not a lot of people there. There's a lot of space. There's a lot of things that can be used. However, when it comes to things that you'll need, very expensive. I mean, there was like I always do price checks wherever I go. And just like a little thing of cereal, breakfast cereal, and not the big boxes, but you know how they're getting smaller and smaller? Shrinkflation, I think is the word they use. Smaller, and it was like $5 for just like a little box of food, and that was across the board wherever I went. So I know it's going to sound silly, but the only 2 things I found that the prices weren't way up there, and I didn't look, are actually 3 things. So it's going to be funny. The 3 things that the prices were not out of control, that were just average with everything. Everything else was expensive, except for 3 things. And that was gasoline, cigarettes, and alcohol. Not a joke. Can't explain it. Doesn't matter. All right, so the next road trip we took to a, not a flyover state, an edge state. It was actually California, I'll tell you. We went to California to visit a friend, and to do a little tourism things in a place we'd been to before. We wanted to go back, so we did. So it was Northern California, up Northern California, so you know where we are. So this is what I learned there on that road trip, is things are really expensive. Okay, California, I was born in California, actually a long time ago, lived there off and on, and blah, 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 and eventually just left, because California is California, and it's not my place. If it's yours, okay, that's fine. But very expensive. what they're doing out there and what they're putting up with, and it's just beyond me. So I'm one of those people that believes if you don't like where you are, if you don't like the people, if you don't like the policies, if you don't, you just leave. So people tend to think, they forget that states are actually countries. That's how they originally were done, by countries. No, 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 no. Leave. If you don't like it, stop complaining. Stop saying, oh, this sucks, because you're not going to change it. You're one person among millions. Leave. So, real quick, tie a little bow in it. Going back out to California, and I like to check places. I knew what it was going to be like, or I thought I knew. And you should always validate stuff, always verify. So I figured what it was going to be like out there. We went out there, and then I try not to look for things to validate what I feel. I'm just like, okay. So when I go to a grocery store, I check and see what the prices are. I don't go looking for the most expensive ones so I can just say, yeah, I was right. I was right. People do that too often. Don't go looking to validate your own feelings. Go look to validate the facts. Not sure if you guys understand what that means. But anyways, so yeah, things are really friggin' expensive there. And unlike the flyover state that we went to, everything was expensive. Their gas was friggin' phenomenal. But I'm sure that's because they're trying to save the environment and blah, blah, blah. Whatever the reasons are, I don't care. So very expensive. Everything was expensive, which increases the difficulty in just living your everyday life, and it definitely increases your difficulty in trying to be prepared for things. Yes? Yes. Now, getting back on leaving. I don't understand why people go someplace they basically know they're not going to be welcome. Their thoughts aren't the same as everybody else's. And then they're just like, make a lot of noise. All right? I've never understood it. I've never understood why people stay someplace that they're not happy and then scream and moan and do whatever and complain and have a terrible life. Look, the United States is 50 different countries, okay? You guys should think of it. It makes it easier if you actually think of it that way instead of like, we are the world and we're all together and we should all be the same. Not the way of it. But anyways, if you don't like where you are, move. Go someplace else. Okay? There's like 300 and something million people in the United States. And there's little groups that are, this place is like this, and this place is like this, and this place like... Go. Go there. Go where you'll be welcome. Go where you don't have to wake up every day complaining. Oh, I'm not going to move to San Francisco. I mean, I visited it. It's a nice place. I mean, tourism sort of stuff, but I'm not going to live there. Do you understand that? And if you want to live in San Francisco, if you have that mentality, why would you move to like BF Montana or someplace and be like, you guys should be like us? And say, no, just go to San Francisco. Just go there. Live there. Do you understand what I'm saying? Or not. It's up to you. Yes? Yes. Now this video might be a little long. I might actually cut it, go do stuff, come back, and make more of this video. Video might be a little long. And if it is, there's a reason for it. I've been checking out the videos because that's what I do. Keep my finger on the pulse, see what's going on. And one of the things is that they're like, yeah, we're making short videos because people don't watch them and algorithms and all this kind of stuff. Hey, guess what? Too bad. I'll make this one long intentionally. Just so people who aren't willing to don't watch it. I mean, I don't want to sound like a jerk, but guess what? Too bad if you're not watching my videos. I don't care. As a matter of fact, it's a vetting process. I might actually put the good stuff at the end. So that way people will be like, I'm tired of this guy, and they off-click. And they'll be like, pfft. And for those of you that hang out and be like, yeah, I'm going to stick this one out a little bit. I got time. I'll listen to Rick. Maybe I might have like what I used to say? Little acorn of knowledge that'll hopefully grow into an oak of wisdom. Yes, little seed grows up. But that's up to you guys. Hang out and watch the video or not. But there is actually going to be something cool at the end, however long it is. Yes? Yes. Okay, I'm going to do some gardening updates, and because it's getting late in the season, I'm going to do some gardening updates, and then I'm probably going to cut this off, and I'll come back and make more. Maybe I'll do some stuff outside. Not exactly sure. This is an improv thing. We'll see what happens. There's a couple things I want to talk about, but the rest is just improv or impromptu or extraneous or whatever the hell the word is. So, garden update. For those of you who have just been waiting to find out what happens with that fourth bucket, yeah, I'm not filming it. I dumped it out, and the results were the exact same. Even though it has started growing again, is that one long root stem that came from the growing potato or whatever the hell potato that's called, and nothing else. So, failure again this season. I'll try again next season. When it comes to growing potatoes in buckets, I'm going to have to drill a whole bunch of holes. in those buckets because it stays way too damp, and potatoes do not need, nor do they like moisture. That's what I found out. Yes? So potato bucket, last one. Failure this season. We'll try again next year. So let's start back in the corner over there. One blueberry bush, remember I planted two? That blueberry bush that died. The experiment of trying to plant it near a pine tree, because supposedly blueberries like acidic soil. It was either too much for it, or I found out they like sandy soil, and my yard is very clay. So yeah, that died. However, we've got pumpkins out there growing, and hopefully there'll be some for Halloween. That would be awesome. We use them as decorations given to the neighbors and stuff if we don't need them all. The onions are still doing well. Onions do well here. So over there are the red onions, and my onion patch is just still growing. Still growing. Those old ones from 3 years ago are still planting, and more are coming up. Corn, we actually got a couple of ears of corn this year. Not many, and they weren't great, but we got some corn. But again, I grow it mainly for decorations for Halloween. But I'm still working on the corn, and we'll see what happens. Yes? Maybe next year. You never can tell. Moving up over here, those potatoes I planted in that little dead area that I didn't know if they were going to grow out, they're still growing. So we'll see. Next to them is a strawberry patch. No strawberries this year, but it is just trying to get bigger and bigger, and I'm having to limit it down. I'm like, nope, cutting it back. You are going to stay in this area. So, but no strawberries. Maybe next year. We'll see what happens. I don't know. The blueberry bush I planted over there is doing well. It's alive, and that's what counts to me. So maybe next year. I don't know when blueberries are actually supposed to put out their little blueberries, but we're going to find out. All the way in the back where I planted those red potatoes and didn't think they were going to grow, and there's some vine plants. The vine plants don't look like they're going to produce. They're growing, but I don't know. Potatoes are still growing, except one. It died. And I don't think it produced any tubers, but we're going to see. You know, maybe I'll show you when I start pulling out the potatoes, because once again, I think I did this in a video where I just plug little things, little Easter eggs. Potatoes. And then finally up here, the raised garden beds. I wasn't actually thinking we were going to do too well in those new ones because they're not established, but my tomato plants are going nuts. I heard that they like a hot soil. And so I think the roots eventually got through the top stuff and got down to that stuff that's rotting in the bottom. Remember, I threw a bunch of rotting stuff in the bottom of my, wasn't rotting at the time, but threw a bunch of like leaves and twigs and sticks and crud down in the bottom of my raised garden beds to help fill them up before I put the top dirt. Because my tomato plants just blew up. Okay, they're huge. I tried cutting the tops. It doesn't matter. I have really high tomato cage. It doesn't matter. They blew up all over them. So I still got to learn how to grow tomatoes. Oh, and what is it, a public service announcement, PSA? I've mentioned it before. I'll mention it again. It takes years to figure out how to grow something. So if you want to know how to grow something, you need to start now. It's going to take you years to figure out how to be good at it. Okay? Not a joke. I'm applying it. And you might be smarter than me, but that's why I do these things, is so you guys can figure out what the heck is going on for a normal person. I am just a regular guy, not a farmer, not a gardener I'm working at, but that's it. If you want to learn how to do something, you need to get out there and do it. I'm telling you. They're not kidding when you watch a video and they say, well, it took a really long time to learn it. They're not joking, all right? If you want to learn how to grow something, go grow it. So we got the cucumbers. They did well. Thank God I only planted two because you know what happened a couple years ago with my cucumbers blowing up all over the place. So I'm eating cucumbers, and I still haven't learned how to pickle yet. But I have a book on how to do it, and I have some of the supplies. So who knows? Yes, it's good to have this stuff and then learn how to do something. So making the cucumber bread, I told you guys about that. Trying to make stuff healthy, changing out oats for flour and honey for sugar, and trying to be more, organic or whatever. It doesn't matter. The white onions I planted over here, they did really well this year. So onions seem to like to grow wherever, which is a good thing. You can eat onions, but you can't survive off onions, but those are doing well. The potatoes I planted in the raised garden bed, every time I think they're going to die, and then you're supposed to leave them in the ground for like 10 days for the skin to get hard or whatever. Every time I think they're like dying, all of a sudden, boom, they put up a new shoot and start growing again. So I have no idea what those potatoes are doing. So it's just going to be, it'll be a surprise. It'll be like, surprise. And I may shoot a video on that. Once they finally die, we'll have to wait and see. Yes? Yes. All right, finish it off. I planted some more rows of stuff for the fall, like spinach and lettuce. I mean, it's not happening. It went from really hot to really cold. Now it's supposed to warm up again. I don't know if they're going to pop their little heads out. We'll find out. But yeah, lettuce was good all year. Spinach, not so good. I still haven't figured out how to do that. Asparagus is still putting off shoots. We eat those once in a while. I have some pepper plants that are growing, but they came up late, and they were planted late, and they came up late in the season. And I don't know if they're actually going to bear anything, but the plants are growing. So it gives me hope for maybe next year. What else? What else? What else? Garlic. I planted it at the wrong time. So I'm leaving the buds, or not the buds, but the little, what the hell do they call it? Doesn't matter. I'll think of it in a second. In the ground, and then hopefully next year they'll come back up, and we'll see bulbs. That's what I was looking for, the word bulbs. And that's about it. Oh, but then let's talk about, we're going to talk about it later. I'm going to cut this off, but we're going to talk about compost, among a bunch of other things. And again, if you stick to the end of the video, there's actually something cool for you. But we'll wait and see. Yes? Yes. Okay, I don't know if you guys can tell. I don't know if the camera moved a little bit. I stopped, I came back, and yeah. Let me fill you in. One of the reasons why making videos for you guys takes me a long time. I'm not trying to, not woe is me, I'm not crying me a river. But just so you guys know, one of the things you might have noticed is I do a fade in, fade out in the videos. If you were to time it, you'd figure out that it's about 1 minute or less, actually. On average. I don't know if anybody's ever figured that out. Like, why does he do that about every 1 minute? It's because I'm shooting this video on my cell phone, and it is not the newest cell phone. And so I have to cut like the things down I try to film them at about 1 minute because it takes forever to upload. And it's not because, conspiracy this or that. It's because I'm doing it off an old, hold on a second guys, I'm going to move you a little bit, just notice. I'm doing it off an old cell phone. Yes? Yes. And then I can't, see, you notice that was about a minute. I can't just load this up to my computer. I can't just like take a little thing. It doesn't work that way. This is an older cell phone, and then the computer I use is just an old laptop. Now, everything works for me. I don't buy stuff because, oh my God, the latest and greatest, and I have to have it. I buy stuff as long as it works. My cell phone works. My computer works for what I need it for. Could I go out and spend a crap ton of money and make it all nice and fast and all this good kind of stuff? Yeah, but I don't, because I try to live below my means. I try to live with just what I need, not what I want, desire, or what society tells me I need, or what would be cool and jiggy and all that good kind of stuff. So it takes forever for me to make videos for you guys. It is a pain in the backside, but that's the way. Anyways, in case you're wondering why I cut videos down and why they're about a minute, and look, we're coming up on a minute, so I'm going to have to clip this right here. Okay, so I went out, I'm going to give you something. I said we were going to talk about composting. Now, if you're new to this and you want to learn how to compost, I think it's fantastic, because if you're not composting your stuff, your leaves, your grass, whatever, things from the kitchen, scraps, you're wasting things. And I tried to work on not wasting things. I don't want to sound like a hippie, but that's the way it is. But here's something. For those that say, well, we should just go to that and get rid of all these chemical fertilizers because they're made from petroleum products and blah, 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 save the world, save the world. Let me give you an example. If you think that we can grow all our food in the world by using compost and natural stuff, you are either lying to yourself or you have no idea what you're talking about. And I'm going to give you an example. You have no idea what you're talking about. All right? Watch this. Now, I've shown you guys, I have cold composters, I think is what they call it, whereas I just took those little grate things that I bought, the little fences for something else, and I just pile stuff in there. And I don't add water to it. I don't try to get it to compost. Basically, it just sits there. And the reason being is I live in suburbia. And if you ever tried doing this, when you compost stuff out in the open air composting, and you're flipping it over and you're adding water to it and keeping it, it stinks. Especially if you use grass. It smells like cow poo and it attracts flies. Now, if you're in rural, way out there area and you could put it on some corner, no one's going to care. Suburbia, this is for average people. Do not compost. It's difficult, okay? Cold composting, which slows down the process, but it accelerates it from nothing. So I cold compost, I've showed you guys those bins, and then I hot compost, but I hot compost in the spinning bins that you can keep closed. You can regulate the water, and those don't smell. The problem is they're small relative, and you can only get so much composting going on, and I'll show you why you cannot mass compost and what the problem is when people say that that's what we need to be doing. So I went outside and I got a leaf. Now, this is off one of my trees. I have lots of trees and leaves, and I get them up and I put them in the cold composter, or I put them in the warm composter, but this, This is going to break down, and this is nature, and it's organic, and blah, 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 make yakety schmackety. Why can't we just do it? You can't do it, okay, in mass. And let me show you why. See this leaf? It's not even, it's kind of dried up. And let me see if I can do this experiment for you guys. Watch this. I'm going to crush it up because that's what happens when things break down. And eventually this is going to turn, once this breaks down, which is the composting process, this is the start of it, it breaks down into this tiny, tiny little bit of nothing. And this isn't even decomposing yet or composting it. It's going to get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. That one leaf is going to end up being this, dust. Do you understand that? Now, don't get me wrong. It's good for the environment. I do it. But try to put things in perspective. It's nothing. It breaks down into tiny little bits. You have masses of stuff, masses of huge piles of compost to try to do the fields. Do you understand what I'm getting at? It's not going to work. Now somebody might say, Rick, you know what you're talking about? My happy horse butt. Look at this. It hasn't even started decomposing yet or composting or whatever. It hasn't started breaking. I just broke it down into small things. That's it. You need tons of this stuff for fields. So, yeah, get away from that. All right? There are too many people. We need too much food to be able to do it that way. All right? Now let me get off my high horse. Let's go back to the average person, all right? Average Joes. If you guys live in suburbia, I would recommend composting as much as I can. Because one, again, I talked about it. It is a waste of stuff if you were just throwing that stuff into a landfill. You can do it. Each person does it is going to help the system. And it helps your yard. You're not throwing stuff away. If you do it correctly, it doesn't smell. It doesn't attract flies. It's something you have to work on. So, and again, it's a self-sufficiency, self-reliance, blah, 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 blah. But I recommend it if you can, I don't know what your position is, to try to compost the stuff that you have. Yes? Yes. All right, now we're going to change gears. And again, this video may be long, and that's because people don't watch long videos. So they're not going to be here for this, and it's not my problem. And I was watching a video, and I wish I remember who the content creator was. It was somebody I hadn't really seen before, because I click on those people just to see. You never can tell where you might get information from and stop watching the same types of videos and the same content creators over and over again. And he started talking about normalcy bias. And so are all the other content creators. That's a big thing. And that's where people just stick their heads in their sand and they just want to believe whatever they're doing is right. And they don't want to think about it. And they don't want, there's just like blah, 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 my life is good, blah, blah, or something. Okay. But that's not what he was talking about. He talked about that a little, but then he talked about normalcy bias for and people like me. And let me explain. When I do these videos, I have a normalcy bias that I don't understand why people don't see what I see. Let me clarify. It's not that I stick my head in the sand and I don't want to see what's going on. No, I see what's going on and I don't understand why other people don't. And so I was intrigued, and so I continued watching. And his point is everyone has different experience. So someone who's good at, let's say, gardening, I'm sure there comes a point where they don't understand why other people aren't good at it. They just think that everyone's there. And I have a lot of experience in my life, and I've gone over before in some videos about logistics and how it was keen to me that I could take all these different pieces, put them together, and figure out what an outcome was, and then I could prepare for it. And my co-workers used to say chutes and ladders, that I could take this over here and it would slide down here, and these would all come together, and I could figure out what was going to happen. So chutes and ladders, it's a little comedy thing that I do with my friends and my family. When I start to explain something to them, and it doesn't necessarily have to do with being prepared, it could be on lots of things, but that's the way my brain works. And apparently, and I thought about it, is I forget that other people don't think that way. And also, I have a lot of worldly experience. I was in the military for like almost 3 decades. I've been all over the world. I've been all over the United States. I told you guys I went to all 50 states, right? A couple years ago, I went to Hawaii, and that was the last one I needed to do. But I've been all over the world, and I've seen lots of things, and so I don't understand. I forget everybody else hasn't done that. And so I'm like, you guys can't see this? This doesn't make sense to you? Of whether they're doing it here, and it's a failure, and you want to do it here, that it makes no sense, but they've never actually seen it. And the little pieces they have seen of other countries it's in a filter, it's on television, and they're only shown what whoever it is that's showing them wants to show them. They've never gone there, and they call it living off the economy, or it's a term I've heard a lot of times, and what I've done is where you actually go and live there, not in the little tourist areas, but I mean, I've lived off the economy in places way out there, like the regular people do, and I've seen what's good and I've seen what's bad, and I just assume everybody else has, and that's my mistake, and I apologize. So I'm going to try to keep that in mind and not have that where I think, well, everybody should have the same experience as me. I understand you don't. So I don't want to sound like I'm condescending to some people that have a lot of experience and I'm explaining little things. It's for those people who don't have the experience. Does that make sense? So, because we're all different. So I may do that once in a while. Like when it comes to like composting, I'm starting to think that people don't understand this. You know what I'm saying? It's probably because they don't have the experience. And just a couple years ago, I didn't. So I'm feeling kind of like a jerk. So this is my apology for that. I don't want to, I'm feeling like a jerk and I don't want to be a jerk. Yes? Yes. All right, last subject before I take another break. I told you I'm going to make this video long because people don't watch them. And that's not my problem. It's almost like I'm doing it intentionally. Don't think I'm being a bad person, but I kind of am in a way. So, yeah. And so this is politics. A little bit has to do with politics. And I've mentioned before, I only do politics so much as I try to stay out of it. It's just whatever, Game of Thrones. It's just dumb. But I only do it in so much that you need to pay attention because it can affect you and your preparedness. Maybe not in the beginning, but maybe for those of you that are working on it, and definitely for those of you that are way up here. Try to stay away from politics, but let's get into it. And I'm also non-affiliated. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I have liberal views on some things. I have conservative views on others. Mentioned that before. But once the extremities start happening, once the extremists start happening, that's when you need to kind of pay attention because it may affect you. Yes? Yes. So first we're going to start with the left. And that's because they're easy targets right now. And 6 months, 2 years, whatever, they may not be the easy target. The right might be the easy target. Don't worry, I'm going to get a right in there. You'll see. But for the left, I don't know if you guys are watching the news, but I bring on my feeds, and all I see is Trump. Trump, magna, blah, 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 blah. He lives in their brains, whatever. And I'm like, well, why is that? Well, we have an election coming up. And it looks like the left is going to lose. That's because the economy is crap. And again, I don't know if you're, like when it comes to the economy, I'll get back to the Trump thing, but when it comes to the economy, they're like, it's not our fault, it's the Fed's fault. It's not our fault, it's big business and their greed and no. Your policies, it's your fault. You are failing, okay? But people, no, we got to convince you of something else, convince you of something else, convince you of something else, convince you. Guys, please, for the average person, pay attention to what they're saying. And again, this has to do with, I think everybody can see it, but apparently they can't. There is a reason why you are pounded with certain things over and over and over again. It is because people are manipulating you. And that's the thing. That's one of the things where I'm like, doesn't everybody know that they're being manipulated every day? They just don't think about it. You are, okay? Our government has been doing it to people in other countries forever. You can Google that stuff. If you want me to get into details, let me know, and I guess I can do it. But you'll find that there's like radio stations outside of Cuba. Free America Radio, or Free Cuba, whatever. And we've done it all over the place. And so our government, well, the government does it to you too. So they're trying to sell you on stuff. And big business is trying to do it because blah, 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 conspiracy theory. It doesn't matter. You are being lied to and you are being manipulated. And you should stop letting it happen. Once you realize it, again, I've mentioned before, it's the magician's trick. Once you know how the trick is done, it doesn't impress you and you're not fooled by it anymore. So understand you're being manipulated. You don't have to, but you are. Yes. So yeah, they're pounding Trump and Magna and they're going after, and I see in the news, it's like Trump, blah, blah. And I look at the actual headline, it's like Trump's barber's brother or Trump's ex-housekeeper's. It's just so stupid. I mean, it's like way out there, has nothing to do with nothing, but it's to keep that in your mind that Trump's a bad guy, Trump's a bad guy, Trump's a bad guy. And whether I agree or disagree isn't the point. The point is understand what they're doing. They are pounding you. Understand what they're doing when it comes to the economy because they want to get elected. That's all they care about. Money and power. I've talked about it before. And it's not our fault the economy is this. It's X and it's Y and it's Z and it's this and it's that. And no, it's their policies. That is the way. Okay? And what they're now talking about, I saw it today, is price controls. Holy Moses. Just like everything else, it sounds really good on the surface, but secondary, tertiary, you have no idea how terrible that is. Well, how do you know that's terrible, Rick? Let me tell you how I know, because I've been around the world and I can't find. I've been around the world and I've seen places where they do it, and it is a disaster. Like a lot of things that they're trying to do here, it's a disaster. But not this time. This time it's going to work. This time, yeah, we're going to do it right. No, they're not. They're going to stuff up. Okay? That is the way. And you need to be ready for it. And we'll get into finances here in just a little bit, making this long video. Yes? All right. Now, what else was I going to talk about? So the left is doing those things. Here's the right for you. Now, this is my opinion, but let me tell you what. It has to do with something they're doing in California on decomposing, composting, basically, human remains. That's what I said. Composting human remains. Now, I can tell you people think I'm cold-hearted or whatever, but I try to take emotion out and do the math. I think cemeteries are silly. I think it's a waste. Now, whether you believe that your spirit moves on or whether you believe that this is the end, and the point being is this chemical, electrical, mechanical, this machine that we live in, once we're done, we're done. You with me? Now, there could have been reasons a long time ago why they burn the bodies or bury the bodies. Some people would say cannibalism. Okay, whatever. To prevent people from thinking about eating them. Okay, I'm not even going to get into it. But the point is to me, it's silly. It takes up space. It costs a crap ton of money for people to what? To go there and be sad. Okay, I understand emotions, but I don't do emotions, especially the bigger the decision is. I take emotions out of it because you can't make a good decision with them actually activated, not knowing that they're there. You should know that emotions are there, but no. So if you don't know it, there's a bunch of laws and regulations about what to do with the human body once someone passes. And in California, they just changed it, or they're talking about changing. I'm pretty sure they changed it where you can now have the body. You take it to a place and they put it in a box with a bunch of other stuff like this, and basically it composts, and that's it. It's done, and you don't have to worry about burning it or burying it or taking up space. And I think it's a fantastic idea because ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Eventually, that's what's going to happen. It's the circle of life. You know what I'm saying? But this is the thing for the right. We're listening to a radio talk show, and these people on the right, admittedly, they're talking about, and they're like, they went so far, they went do, and they ran with it, and they said it's going to lead to cannibalism. Not joking with you. So they say, well, in doing that, you don't have the the respect for the body, and okay, versus burning it. Okay, no, you don't respect it because you're just letting it decompose, as opposed to putting it in a concrete vault, in which case it's going to take eons for it to break down. Little concrete. That's where the casket goes into that little No. And so since they're not respecting it, then eventually the next thing is they're not going to respect it more, and they're not going to respect it more, and they're going to think, well, we're eating it anyways because it's decomposing and growing up into fruit trees or whatever. So they're just going to eat it. So it went from something I thought was pretty smart is, yeah, let's just compost the bodies. They're done. It's gonna happen in a couple centuries anyways, the way we're currently doing it. And when you burn it, it takes away all the good stuff that's in there, which is a waste again. And they went from there all the way to cannibalism. Now, I'm not saying that's not going to happen, but come on, guys, really slow your friggin' roll. Anyways, that was just understand where people's mindsets are, and I'm talking about the extremes, but they affect the center. So people are going crazy out there. They're just whatever. Well, Rick, what does this got to do with me? I'm just an average prepper. Or preparedness. Again, not a prepper channel is. You need to know how people think. Everyone is going bonkers, and it's going to affect you in one way or another. So don't worry about it. I mean, don't let it preoccupy your time, but take it into account and be like, okay, that's how they are. Yay, I'm going to stay away from them or whatever. It's up to you. I stay away from them. I stay away from people way over here. I stay away from people way over here as much as I can. Just live my life and do my thing. Yes? Yes. All right. I'm going to take another break. So on the next one, the camera probably messed up again because I have to upload these videos. They take forever. And yeah, I need a break anyways. Yes? I'll see you in a bit. Okay, it's later in the day. I'm still making this video. Let's see if we can finish this up. Yes? So one more thing that may be political. We'll see. I saw on the news, and There are cities, counties, and states making certain things illegal, such as I'm sure everybody heard about California doing the gas cars. I don't know if you heard about there's certain cities they're making gas stoves in your kitchen. Yeah, they're going to make those illegal. And I don't know if I showed you guys, and I know I talked about it, out back on my patio. I have one of those large, tall propane heaters. They got the little caps on the top of them, and people use them in outside dining, restaurants and stuff to keep people warm. Yeah, they're making those illegal. So God only knows what's next. And then I think back a long time ago, there were certain places in California, I don't know how far it's gone now, that lighter fluid for your barbecues. Yeah, that's illegal. What's next, guys? What's next? Now you may say, well, what does that matter? What do I care? Boiling frog, incremental change. I don't know if you guys understand that. But and it also has to do with people are now looking at the green agenda, which I try to be green. I don't try to use electricity and water for different reasons, but and you guys know I recycle. I've talked about that, and I reduce, reuse, recycle, upcycle stuff. I compost. I grow my own food. Come on now, but there's a smart way of doing it and not such a smart way of doing it. And right now they're pointing out like Europe, most especially like Germany, was getting away from them producing fossil fuels and trying to go green. However, they were still using fossil fuels coming from Russia, which, doesn't really, I don't understand. I'm not doing it, but I'm using somebody else's, how that makes me good. And they're suffering from it. There's a right way to go about these things. It's a step-by-step process. You have to take into account secondary, tertiary logistics. It's what I did for a living. And they're not doing it. They're doing it by emotion instead of fact. And when people make decisions by emotion, someone's going to suffer. And if you're not paying attention, it's going to be you. Now, if you guys have never been here before, I'm pretty sure I've said it. Somebody can correct me. People have watched my videos before. I don't try to tell anybody what to do. I've mentioned before that used to be my job. My job was to tell people what to do, literally. And it's not my job anymore, so I don't do it. I do these videos because I looked for a niche. I couldn't find people that were just talking to average people. They were, very specific, like gardening, or there was cooking, or there was canning, preserving, and then there was like the doomsday prepper thing. And I'm a jack of all trades. I try to do a little bit of everything because I'm sure I hope you guys have heard this before. When it comes to preparedness, and then you get bigger to survival way up here. But the thing is, it's not the smartest person and it's not the strongest person that survives any situation. It's the most adaptable. It's the one that can adapt to the situation. And I've been in lots of bad situations. And once again, I can validate that. If you adapt, you're going to survive. Yes? Yes, so know things. You have to know a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and then it's not so difficult to expand that if you have to. Case in point, I've talked about my gardening where I do little bits, micro gardens, and I can macro that out if I need to. Yes? And I saw something where somebody was talking about a content creator, and they're like, it's better to be able to preserve foods than to grow them. I know I'm changing gears. Shoots and ladders, when my brain works. And I'm not going to disagree with them on that. I think growing stuff is good, but if you can preserve stuff, get stuff now, preserve it, it's going to be better because you can't plant on gardens and it's seasonal and this and the other thing. And case in point is I have books on how to preserve food, and I have the equipment. I haven't done it yet, but I've already gone out and purchased the equipment. Like I have a pressure cooker, and I have the pans that you put the stuff in, and I have canning jars and the lids and everything you need, little tools to pull the stuff out. Have I done it yet? No. But I will, and if I have to, I can. Get it? Play on words. But yeah, you need to learn whatever it is for you. Is you need to get the equipment now, get the knowledge, get the books. I don't know if you guys will see those, and to be able to adapt to what happens. All right, just a couple more things, and then the big finish. If you stuck with me this long, I told you there was going to be something at the end that was kind of cool. I think it's kind of cool. We'll wait and see. When you're out there looking at the prepper channels, preparedness channels, whatever, and I look at the canning channels and stuff, be careful, okay? Again, I don't tell people what to do. There's a lot of things out there and content creators, and they're telling you what to do. They're telling you what to buy. Like, if you don't buy this, and one of the reasons why I don't tell people what to do is because I don't know you. I don't know where you are. We've talked about this before. I don't know your financial situation. I don't know your living situation. I don't know where you are actually in the world to say you need to plant this or you're not prepared, or you need to buy this. I don't know your financial situation, or you need to use this. I don't know what you can and can't use. People have physical and mental blocks and stuff. I got nothing. All I can do is talk about a bunch of stuff that for average people, and hopefully you need to take responsibility for yourself. Yes. So try to watch it and try to stay away from people that are trying to sell you something. Yes. Yes. And speaking of selling you something, let's go to the end. Now, I mentioned it before, if long time ago. I don't know how many people have seen the videos, but I was like, if you guys have any ideas, and I've showed you stuff I've used, me personally. Some of it, most of it is not that expensive. Some of it is. And I said, if you guys had any ideas, something you wanted me to check out, test out, whatever, because I can be rough on something if I need to see if it's going to survive. I can use it every day because sooner or later you're going to be rough on something you don't know. And I said, hey, if you guys got something that you want me to, let me know. Either you send me an email. My email is always in the description thing, or you could tune in the comments below and say, yeah, I was thinking about. So for average people, they don't want to go out and buy something. I think there's a concern, and there should be, of buying something if it's not going to work, or how easy is it, or how much it's cost, or is it going to do what it says it's going to do. So here's my deal. Are you ready? I put a couple bucks together, and by a couple, I mean, I'm going to start small. I got like 25 bucks. So if there's anything out there that costs $25 or less, you don't have to go $24.99. It could be something as easily as $6 or $12 or whatever, as long as it's not $25 or more. Later on, I'll go to like $50, $75, $100. We'll see what happens. But if there's something out there and you're like, I think they're telling me I need to get it. I think I need to get it. Maybe I need to get it. I don't know. I don't know your situation. And you don't want to spend the 25 bucks either on principle, or you might not have it. Again, I squished money together and I saved up 25 bucks. You saved up 25 bucks? Yeah, don't judge me. So if you want me to get it, if it's got to do with preparedness or even prepping, if you want to go out that far, but I'm talking about preparedness, something you've been wondering about, let me know. I'll get it. Hopefully you'll let me know where I can get it. Usually Amazon. I'm not plugging them, and I'll get it and I'll use it and I'll tell you if it's worth the money. How's that sound? I mean, not that I'm an expert person. I mean, I'm going to use it and see if it breaks, or use it and see how easy it is. You get what I'm saying? What a normal person would do. All right, guys, that was the big thing at the end. I'm sure it's probably disappointing to some people, but yeah, whatever. This is the way, yes? So let me know. I don't know if you want to do it in the comments below, or if you want to do it, shoot me an email. Either way's fine. I don't care. I'm going to let it go for, I don't know, a few days. People don't comment usually after a few days. Videos like come and then they just go. They just fade into whatever, the ether. So, and a final thought. Anyways, let me finish this one. So I'll give it a couple days. I'll say 3 days. If there's any comments down below, I'll look through them and I'll see which one I'm going to choose. So but if there's a couple, people say the same thing, then that's probably going to get more weight. But if it's like 5 random things, I'll pick one. Probably one I don't have. And if it's something I already have, I can just tell you if that works or not. But yeah, so if you guys are in for it, do it. Yes? Yes. And I'm going to leave you with this. What was it? The 24th? Something terrible was supposed to happen. Well, guess what? The 24th is past. All right? The 24th is past. Y2K has passed. 2012 has passed. Blah, 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 blah. For the average person, stop getting hyped up by things. Don't let them get you hyped up by things. Preparedness. It's a daily thing. Get prepared for what can probably happen to you. You see what I'm saying? What you've come in contact with before. Give you a case in point. There's a hurricane, and they've already declared a national emergency or whatever, state of emergency in Florida. It's a tropical storm. I don't even know if it's a hurricane yet, but they're expecting it. So people should already be prepared. And people are supposedly already panicking. That should not happen. That's not preparedness. Preparedness is, I just got to top off a couple things, 1 or 2 things, and I'm good to go. Not, I got to run out and buy the store. That's preparedness for the average person. What's going to happen, what can happen, or what's happened before. Learn your lessons and be ready for it. Yes? Yes, this is after the 24th, by the way. All right, with that, we'll go ahead and draw this to a close. Hopefully you guys see now, because I mentioned it to you that my videos, they fade in and out about every minute. I thought that was funny. We talked about at the beginning of the thing, at this video. But anyways, I hope this finds you well. I hope you are happy. I hope you stay positive. And I hope everyone out there is prepared.